If you want to see amazing and exciting duels, informative and entertaining top 10 lists, and everything else that's just great about the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, you gotta watch the Capital G show. Shout out to my homeboy Dante. Hey. What's up YouTube? Capital G here. We're talking Djinn in this video, and we're asking the question, should this still be your turn one go-to play if you're playing Necros moving forward? And you can kind of answer this question assuming you're playing the Necros mirror match, or assuming that you don't know what you're playing against, like your opponent says you go first and you're playing Necros and you have no idea what they're playing, and maybe it's late in the tournament. And I think that if I would have asked this question 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, it would have been a no-brainer. Just absolutely yes. I mean, last format against, you know, many decks that weren't like Cleefort, and Djinn was the be-all end-all against the rare case that you ran into Shadows, or if you played against the, you know, the Dark Matter Dragon deck, they couldn't really play Yu-Gi-Oh! Same thing could be said about something like the Spiritual Beast. They just really didn't have a lot of plays. But now, I mean, it's absolutely 100% cemented that Necros is the best deck. And if you assume that your deck is better than every deck that you're playing against, the biggest threat to you would guess, would probably be the Mirror or Cleefort. Now, against Cleefort, this has never really been like a solid play. It just doesn't really do anything to them except stop pendulum summons. But now I feel like even though it was already so much on our radar, I feel like the outs to the Djinn are just, they're starting to become so consistent that this play is, it's almost like it's not worth the trouble anymore. I uploaded the finals match and the semifinals, and both of them were Necros mirror matches, and I actually apologize. For some reason, I don't know why it uploaded in 420p. I must have hit the wrong settings on my uploader, but usually it goes in 720p like in my Djinn dual commentaries. But the point is, since the advent of this card, Bullblader, a card that is absolutely fantastic for outing the Djinn, it seems like the Djinn just doesn't work anymore. In those matches, I think the Djinn was tried, or there was a ritual monster summoned using Djinn releaser of rituals, I want to say 4 different times, and absolutely none of those times did that monster live past a turn. I mean, there was an ARG, I forget which one it was. I think it was Hartford, Connecticut, where every single match was just, oh, Djinn, you don't have an out, I scoop. But now it's just, it's not happening anymore. And for those of you who don't know, Bullblader is a warrior. The stats are nothing that impressive, 1600, 1200. In layman's terms, its effect is you can basically make it so that neither player takes damage involving a battle with this card, and then at the end of the battle phase, you can destroy the monster that this card battled with. And it's really good because it actually circumvents some of the problems that cards like Sir Tellarknight Regal. So Tellarknight Regal was one of the main cards that Tellarknight players would play because it outed the Djinn and it outed Unicore. But the problem was, if you summoned it, and you obviously wanted to pump your guy up to 24, which is bigger than this, and bigger than, I forgot to put Unicore up here. I know I was missing one, but it was bigger than Unicore as well. If your opponent activated the Valkyries, well, your dude would die during the end phase, and you wouldn't be able to exceed with it. Like, you wouldn't be able to, you know, make sure that it didn't die, but it with exceeding, and then you wouldn't be able to revive it either with Altair or Call the Haunted, because Djinn was obviously in place. With this card, you don't really have that problem. The same thing goes for Gungnir. Gungnir will work the same exact way. If your opponent expends a non-reusable resource, such as Ring of Destruction, or maybe even Book of Moon, which can be stopped by Trishula. One can be stopped by Gungnir, one can be stopped by Trishula. Your opponent kind of loses that card permanently. But with Bullblader, it doesn't die, because the Necros of Colossalus is almost always summoned in defense mode. Even if it was in attack mode for some silly reason, your opponent had like a Forbidden Lance plus a Necros of Decisive Armor, your guy still would be able to kill the Necros of Colossalus. So this is one of those cards where it's like, it's almost always going to get its man. I actually saw in the finals where it actually may have been in the quarterfinals, a player had Bullblader on field and Effect Veiler, and it's like, how do you really get around that in the Necros mirror match? Are you going to try and exceed over that? Are you going to, you know, maybe try and Trishula it, because that'll be met with Veiler? And the thing is, even though people have now started to move towards double Trishula, that doesn't really stop the standard lineup of, you know, Yang Zing or Shadows might run double Dark Hole. Burning Abyss definitely have been known for this. Double Dark Hole and Regeki. And then, of course, most Necros players are running Book of Eclipse and Gungnir, Trishula. They don't really do anything. Like, they can't stop those cards. And I think that as people have started becoming wise to this card, I think that Tellarknight players are probably going to start citing this too if they feel like the Djinn lock is just, you know, something that they can't beat. And the thing about Bullblader you have to remember is it's a warrior. It's searchable. So if you look at Tellarknights and Necros, well, I mean, obviously the Necros deck is just full of warriors. You have Colossalus, you have Shurit. This gives you a third option. And then so Tellarknights, the entire deck is warrior too. So I actually kind of calculated it with the two guys who were in the finals, Terrence and Christopher. I believe if they played the standard lineup of 3 Rotas, a Regeki, and double of the Book of Eclipses plus the Bullblader, you actually end up having 7 outs to the Djinn lock. And every single time that somebody tried it, it just didn't work anymore. So I'm actually questioning if people will still be running Djinn going into Nationals, because if you just looked at this event, the Djinn lock it wasn't really that big of a problem. Everybody had answers for it. It was either the Book of Eclipse, or it was the Regeki, or it was the Bullblader. And if you run, you know, the standard lineup as the Necros do, that's pretty much 7 outs out of 40 card deck. That's pretty high. Or if you're playing just a standard deck, then obviously you have Regeki, Book of Moon, and Ring of Destruction, which is kind of like a new card. It's like a better version of Compulse for last format, because this will actually kill the Djinn, or this will actually kill the Colossalus, rather than put it back in their hand for them to special summon later. But I think Bullblader is something that can definitely catch on for anything that runs heroes. Like, you could even or anything that runs warriors, excuse me. You could even hypothetically side this on like heroes, because you're probably going to be running 3 Rhoda in that deck too. In case you happen to go second, you won't have to worry about, oh man, I've got this Hero Lives, and I've got this, you know, and I've got the Hero Lives, and I've got this Goblinberg, and I can't play Yu-Gi-Oh because my opponent Djinn locked me. So let me know what you guys think. I'm kind of like at the point where I think that Djinn is kind of like, it's run its course. It almost seems like a Mirror Force situation, where now that everybody is playing so hard around it, its effectiveness becomes almost like, it becomes almost negligible. Like, it's really not making that big of an impact. But I want to hear you guys' opinions. Do you think that the Djinn should still be your turn 1 play if you don't know what you're playing against, or you're playing against the Necros mirror? Thank you guys for watching, as always. Subscribing makes life happy.